Welcome back to Brainspace. Today we're diving into a topic that's close to the heart of many, which is things that introverts hate, especially if you consider yourself an introvert. We all have our pet peeves, but certain things introverts, in particular, find especially frustrating. Whether you're an introvert yourself or you know someone who is, understanding these can make all the difference in improving interactions. So, if you're ready to uncover the top 10 things that introverts just can't stand, make yourself comfortable and let's jump right in. Number 1. Forced small talk. Introverts typically prefer deep, meaningful conversations over surface-level chit-chat. Imagine this. You're at a social gathering and someone approaches you with the classic, "How's the weather?" or "What do you do?" questions. This kind of small talk can feel draining and somewhat pointless for introverts. I remember attending a networking event surrounded by people making small talk about their jobs, traffic, or the latest TV shows. While everyone else seemed engaged, I felt disconnected, craving a conversation that went beyond the surface. After a few minutes, I found myself edging towards the exit, desperate for some fresh air and solitude. It's not that introverts don't like talking. They just prefer meaningful and intellectually stimulating conversations. Number 2. Crowded places. While some people thrive in bustling environments, introverts generally find them overwhelming. Picture this. You walk into a packed shopping mall on a Saturday afternoon, and the noise, the crowds, and the constant movement feel like sensory overload. I once went to a music festival with friends, thinking it would be a fun experience. But as the crowd grew larger and the noise intensified, I started feeling more and more out of place. The constant stimulation was too much, and I ended up spending most of the time on the outskirts, trying to find a quieter space to breathe. For introverts, environments like these can be extremely exhausting, both mentally and physically. Number 3. Unexpected phone calls. Now, this might seem trivial, but for introverts, getting a phone call out of the blue can be jarring. It's not that introverts don't like talking to people. They do. But they often prefer to have some mental preparation before engaging in a conversation. I vividly recall a time when I was deeply engrossed in a book, enjoying the quiet of the evening, when suddenly, my phone rang. It was a friend calling to chat. Instead of feeling excited, I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. I hesitated before answering, and even after picking up, I found it hard to fully engage because I hadn't mentally prepared for the conversation. Introverts often prefer a heads up before diving into a discussion, so a simple text beforehand can make all the difference. Number 4. Being put on the spot. Whether it's in a meeting, a classroom, or a social setting, introverts typically dislike being the center of attention without warning. It's not that they don't have good ideas, they do, but they often prefer time to gather their thoughts before sharing them. I remember being in a team meeting where the manager suddenly asked for my opinion on a project. I wasn't expecting it, and I could feel my heart race as all eyes turned towards me. I stumbled through my response, wishing I had a few minutes to collect my thoughts. After the meeting, I thought of so many better things I could have said. For introverts, having a little time to prepare can make a huge difference in how comfortable and confident they feel when speaking up. Number 5. Large social gatherings. While some people love big parties and events, introverts often find these situations draining. The constant social interaction, loud environments, and lack of personal space can leave them feeling exhausted. I once attended a big wedding reception with hundreds of guests. While everyone was mingling, dancing, and having a good time, I felt increasingly overwhelmed by the noise and the sheer number of people. I spent most of the evening trying to find a quiet corner where I could catch my breath. Large gatherings can feel like a marathon for introverts. They're constantly using up their energy just to stay engaged. And by the end of the night, they're completely drained. Number 6. Interruptions. When introverts are focused on a task or deep in thought, interruptions can be incredibly frustrating. Whether it's someone barging into their office, a sudden loud noise, or even an uninvited comment in a conversation, these disruptions break their concentration and can be very annoying. I was working on an important project once, deeply engrossed in my work, when a colleague suddenly burst into my office to ask a question. It completely threw me off my rhythm, and it took me a good 15 minutes to get back into the zone. Introverts value their quiet time and mental space, so minimizing interruptions is key to keeping them happy and productive. Number 7, lack of alone time. Introverts recharge by spending time alone, so when they don't get enough of it, they can feel drained and irritable. Whether it's due to work, family obligations, or social events, being constantly surrounded by people without a break can take a toll on an introvert's well-being. There was a week when I had back-to-back social events, work meetings, family gatherings, and a friend's birthday party. By the end of it, I felt completely burnt out. All I wanted was a day to myself to recharge, but it was hard to find the time. For introverts, alone time isn't just a preference. It's a necessity for maintaining their mental and emotional health. Number 8, surface-level friendships. Introverts typically value deep, meaningful connections over a wide social circle. They prefer a few close friends they can trust and confide in, rather than a large group of acquaintances. I've always been someone who prefers deep conversations with a few close friends over casual chats with a lot of people. I remember trying to fit in with a larger group in college, but the conversations always felt shallow, about parties, gossip, or trivial things. I found myself longing for deeper connections and eventually gravitated towards a smaller circle of friends who shared similar values and interests. For introverts, quality friendships are far more fulfilling than having a lot of social connections. Number 9, being misunderstood. Introverts are often seen as shy, antisocial, or even rude because they don't always conform to social norms. However, these labels couldn't be further from the truth. Introverts simply express themselves differently and may take time to open up. I've often been labeled as quiet or reserved, especially in group settings, where I'm not the most vocal person. It's not that I'm shy or uninterested, but I prefer listening and observing before jumping into a conversation. I remember one instance where someone mistook my quietness for arrogance, which couldn't have been further from the truth. It was a harsh reminder that introverts are often misunderstood, simply because they don't fit the extroverted mold that society tends to favor. Number 10, forced group work. Whether it's in school, at work, or in social settings, being required to collaborate in a group can be challenging for introverts. They often prefer working independently or in small, well-organized teams where everyone's roles are clear. In college, group projects were my least favorite part of the curriculum. I remember being assigned to a group where everyone had different working styles, and the loudest voices often dominated the discussion. I found it difficult to contribute my ideas in such a chaotic environment. I much preferred working on my own, where I could focus without the distractions and pressures of group dynamics. For introverts, group work can feel overwhelming, especially when it's not well organized or when there's no clear structure. If you're an introvert, you probably found yourself nodding along to these points. And if you're not, hopefully, this gives you a better understanding of what it's like to walk in an introvert's shoes. Remember, everyone has their preferences and needs when it comes to social interactions, and a little understanding goes a long way. If you want to learn more about introverts, do watch these insightful videos as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Brainspace, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.